When people saw what these canines were doing to an elderly blind woman near the river, they screamed. Aurelia's life didn't start off easy from the beginning. When she was a newborn, her parents gave her up for adoption. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. She was then raised in several orphanages until she was old enough to leave home and take care of herself. Because she was frequently required to work while residing in orphanages, Aurelia had suffered from a variety of ailments during her whole childhood. As she entered adulthood and found herself in a foreign environment, her ailments followed her. As a result, Aurelia had to work extremely hard for very little money for the next few years in order to pay for a dilapidated cottage that provided her with very little security. Some evenings, men would come to Aurelia's residence and pay for her company in exchange for a little additional cash. Even though they were satisfied, Aurelia still felt incredibly alone and hollow. The young woman became pregnant 3 times as a result of these interactions, but regrettably, none of her pregnancies ended happily. Her overexertion from working too hard and eating and sleeping far too little was the main reason she lost the babies. Aurelia pondered whether it was worthwhile to live another day and what her mission in life was every morning when she woke up. The young woman's drive, heart, and faith in her ability to face whatever fate had in store for her were the only things that kept her from giving up every day. More than anything, she wanted to show herself that she could live out her days without rushing through the challenging times. All she could hope for was that her pain would eventually be compensated for and that her persistence would be recognized. Aurelia put up with her circumstances as the years went by. She persisted despite the deepening lines on her face, which were now beginning to reflect her struggles. She had never given up on the notion of love, but even at 50 years old, she still felt like a young woman. She thought she would have it in the next life and that she was not meant to discover it in this one. Aurelia made this decision and then just lived her life, waiting for the day to arrive when she would be accepted into the kingdom of heaven, where she would finally be able to experience happiness, love, and serenity. As Aurelia grew older, she realized that not much had happened in her life that was truly noteworthy. Her 2 dogs, who appeared to be as old as she was, were the only source of love in her life. Aurelia had every right to be retired and living happily in her latter years, but she was compelled to labor day in and day out because she could not afford it. After a grueling and exhausting workday, she would walk to the river to wash herself, until one day, everything changed. This was her daily schedule. Aurelia was heading down to the river to wash herself on this particular day, having just finished up another long day at work. She slipped as she stepped into the chilly water and fell into a big mud hole, where she began to sink quickly. Aurelia was terrified at first, but she quickly understood that no one was there to get her out of the muck, and that she had nothing to hold on to in order to aid herself. At this time, she made the decision to cool down and accept that the mud would drag her down. She had suffered so much in her 92 years of existence. She had run out of energy to struggle against the inevitable. Though Aurelia's life had been terrible, she had never considered suicide. Instead, she accepted that nature was stealing her life, and that it was normal, and that it was all right to let go. Aurelia's 2 devoted dogs showed up just as she was about to let go. Aurelia was taken aback because her dogs would never follow her to the river, as they were too afraid of the water. And yet, here they were, attempting to rescue her from her situation. Without hesitation, the 2 dogs ran to Aurelia and positioned themselves beneath her arms to prevent her from falling any lower. Their actions perplexed the elderly woman, who couldn't help but wonder whether it was a sign not to give up. At this point, several witnesses from the bridge above began to take notice of what was occurring below. When the 2 dogs approached, the inquisitive onlookers initially believed that they were just attempting to consume a dead animal of some sort. But things soon became more apparent. When they initially observed the 2 dogs and the elderly woman, they thought the dogs were attempting to eat Aurelia. But as soon as the elderly woman opened her eyes, the onlookers began to yell in disbelief. The throng began to march in their direction, acting as though they were going to hurt the two dogs, who they still thought were assaulting the elderly woman. At this moment, Aurelia realized she had to take action to ensure the safety of her two cherished puppies. Somehow, she mustered the courage to tell everyone gathered around her that the dogs weren't attempting to harm her, but rather were attempting to save her life. She explained to them how she had fallen into the mud hole and how she appeared to sink farther into the earth the more she moved. The group took quick action after realizing what was going on. The 5 adults or so in the little group came together to assist Aurelia in being pulled out of the muck. The old woman soon passed out from shock after realizing she was safe and free, as her body seemed to be shutting down on her. After being sent to the nearby hospital on short notice, Aurelia was monitored for a few days to ensure that she was healing appropriately. However, the old woman decided during her stay there that she did not want to go back to her dilapidated home or her life of poverty and begging. Rather, she would take her 2 dogs and leave the city, walking until her body just gave up on her, and she was ready to move on at last. Aurelia would seek out a peaceful area of the outdoors to sit, unwind, and ultimately find serenity once her body could no longer move. Aurelia prepared herself to find her dogs on the day of her discharge so she could begin her adventure. But, to her surprise, the 2 dogs were waiting for her immediately outside the hospital. Despite being forbidden from entering the building, the animals were determined to be as near Aurelia as possible because of their intense affection for her. The image in front of Aurelia brought tears to her eyes. She was unaware of how much her 2 puppies loved her. However, they weren't the only ones who were holding out for the old lady. Several of the people who had rescued Aurelia from the mud pit were standing outside with the dogs. They wanted to tell her something, which was why they were waiting for her. Only on the weekends did one of the individuals visit his modest property. He informed Aurelia of her predicament and expressed his desire to support her in leading a tranquil and honorable life for the remainder of her days. In other words, he was giving the old lady the opportunity to move into his property. Aurelia would also receive assistance from the other rescuers, whether it was by helping with chores or obtaining groceries. The generosity of the villagers amazed Aurelia. It seemed that she was, at last, receiving the opportunity to live the life she had always imagined for herself, 92 years after her birth. The old woman, overcome with emotion, gladly accepted the offer and was driven to the property that same day. After that, Aurelia would cheerfully pass her days doing housework, going for walks on the farm, and just basking in the serenity that she had at last discovered. Aurelia, of course, traveled with her 2 faithful dogs, and the 3 of them made a happy home on the farm. Aurelia didn't know how she would ever be able to repay her incredible pups for saving her life that dreadful day, but she was forever grateful to them. What a lovely tale! Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.